Drake has a baby mama, a new one.
A new one.
That is the alleged theory that's happening here.
Okay.
Do you believe this at all?
Like that they slept together?
Yeah.
No.
How does a rumor like this even start?
Well, I'll tell you how it started. Bobbi Althoff,
Yeah.
some are saying industry plant.
Yeah.
Podcaster.
Mm-hmm. She's funny as hell. I like her.
Some huge names on our podcast. Going from Mark Cuban to Drake to Lil Yachty.
Funny Marco was the one
Funny
that
Marco,
first banged.
Fucking bunch of people.
That's really it so far.
And she really came out of nowhere.
Her first guest on her podcast, you know who it was?
Wasn't it Funny Marco?
Colleen Ballinger.
Oh, that's
the ukulele girl.
Yeah, going on during that time. So that probably got her a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
But so she did a Drake interview that seemed to go relatively well.
Super viral moment.
Obviously,
everyone
super
has seen
viral. Like, it's Drake.
They're laying in a bed drinking wine.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was funny. It's funny.
I actually haven't watched the whole thing.
She's a funny girl too. Like, actually, genuinely. But
I like her.
The thing is, shortly after the podcast went viral or whatever, it was privated, and they actually
their podcast is private.
Yeah,
you can't watch it.
It's no longer on YouTube.
Really? I didn't know that. Fuck.
And they actually unfollowed each other on Instagram. So speculations.
I didn't even know that part.
Yeah, that's where it's starting.
Gotcha.
So speculations are going around that, Drake slept with her, whatever. Like, that's a weird speculation from that because that doesn't.
She's
even make
also
sense.
like a mom of three kids.
Yeah, she has a husband and fucking like
she's
children.
married with children.
But yeah, so now people are speculating why her and Drake unfollowed each other, why the podcast is down, and well,
I wonder. Okay. Well, yeah, we'll watch a little bit of this clip because as far as I knew, Dave Portnoy was like the one who really started spreading the rumor.
So
I'm sure he didn't start it, but he
obviously
talked about
he didn't start it. He does a podcast like us, whatever. He fucking had her on his show, and he asked her, or like alluded to why they unfollowed each other.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, no, this is after their interview.
This? Yeah, she's not on the interview, and he's saying this
because she was on his show.
I watched it.
Yeah, and then she was saying shit like Lil Yachty's an awkward dude, shit like that.
Yeah,
not really related to Drake. But after their interview, Dave Portnoy went on another show of his with fucking
50.
Josh Richards, 50-year-old and a 19-year-old doing a show together. Is a little suspect. Anyway, he went on this show and he said, I guess just roll it. This is it, right?
Yep.
And it's like, I heard that Bobbi slept with Drake and is getting divorced. So I asked her. I DM'd Bobbi.
What? You asked her, did you sleep with Drake and are you getting a divorce?
Yeah. She's like, I'm not commenting on that publicly.
Wait, so you just outed her?
Oh.
You just outed her not public comment?
So, like,
kind of a dick move.
He edits it in a way that makes it seem like they did sleep together.
Yeah.
Because he bleeps out, he says, I'm not going to comment on this publicly, coming from her. And then he bleeps out what she said.
Yeah.
Which makes it seem bad.
It is a good way to get people to watch the full episode.
Here we are.
That's the internet.
Here we are. But
so then she posted the DM screenshots.
That's what really blew it up. Like, oh my God, Bobbi and Drake slept together because dumbass Dave Portnoy bleeped out some words.
Yeah. Which aren't even, the words that he chose to bleep are very, answer the whole rest of the question.
Exactly. It doesn't even, like, you're just making it.
Yeah.
You're making it a thing by bleeping it.
And she was like nice and went on your show. Like she's popping right now. And she agreed to go on your show and talk about all the shit.
Fucking
and then the next day you're like,
basically like.
And then the next day he's starting a bunch of rumors about her. It's kind of whack.
Then he goes on and like, whatever, he posts that. So people start harassing Bobbi because obviously she's a mother. She's got a husband.
Yeah.
Whatever. So people are saying like, oh, you hooked up with Drake, yada, 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 all over the internet.
Yeah.
So then she comes out and says on an Instagram story, I did not want to do this podcast in the first place, referring to the Dave Portnoy podcast, obviously, because who the fuck wants to be in the same room with Dave Portnoy?
I would.
And now so much negativity is coming from it. I'm going to leave it alone after this, but this is the uncensored DM between Dave and I. So she leaks her own DMs.
Yeah, with Dave. She posted this on her story, Instagram story.
And then, he asked, did you sleep with Drake? Essentially, and she says, I'm not going to comment publicly, but no.
Dave said, my girlfriend says you hooked up with Drake and got divorced. I am saying that is not true. That's such a bullshit pussy way of, like, you blame it on your girlfriend.
And it doesn't even make sense.
Then she said, I am not commenting publicly, but off the record, you're right. That is not true. And he said, I knew I was right.
So
He's just like a shit stirrer, dude.
yeah, 100%.
Like,
And the thing is, like, he
It's a-
knows
that's
it doesn't
annoying.
even make sense.
he knows that's not true.
Of course, like,
He just
First of all-
interviewed her for an hour.
the theory doesn't even make sense.
No.
Like, if you hooked up, why would you unfollow each other and delete the podcast?
Yeah.
Unless, you're trying to mend shit with your family, yada, yada, yada.
That didn't happen. That's the dumbest
But it
rumor of
didn't
all
happen.
time.
Yeah, so whatever. Some bullshit came out of it. Bobbi Althoff probably going to be a little more reserved with her,
She should be.
her comments and who she's going to
I mean, yeah.
interview and go on interviews with. But
People are saying she's an industry plant too, because she
yeah,
just
I've
blew up.
seen that.
But, like, if I actually did watch her interview with Dave Portnoy on their podcast, and like she explains the whole story on how she blew up, and she was big on TikTok
Yeah, I was
before
about
the
to say.
podcast thing.
Yeah.
She was doing like mom content, talking
Yep.
about boobs and pumping and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so like to talk about the industry plant thing, she was a relatively big TikToker.
She
like
said
a
she had
mom
like 3
TikToker.
million
Yep.
on TikTok.
Because TikTok is that place. You know what I'm saying? You go, anybody could get famous on there. So then she made a post that was like, I'll give $300 to anybody that could hook me up with a famous person.
Exactly.
And that snowballed into interviewing Drake, the
Yeah.
biggest fucking.
The first person she got that was Colleen Ballinger.
Right.
And she gave the person that hooked it up $300.
Yep.
So she was just offering people 300
Smart.
bucks.
Smart. To out their famous friends.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get Drake, I'll give you 400 bucks.
I'll give you $1,000 right now.
Yeah,
Come
it's
on.
crazy. Apparently, she posted. Yeah, she'd only done like a few episodes. She did that podcast with Funny Marco. I didn't even know
Yeah.
who that guy was. Do you?
I
Dude,
heard of him before, yeah.
I don't think I had known him. And I guess Drake saw one of the clips,
Yeah.
liked it, followed her, and then she was
That's
like,
it,
"Hey,
yeah.
Drake, come on the show." And he's like, "Sure." And
Yeah.
then it's really down though. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is down.
I want-
Obviously, people re-uploaded and fucking clipped it.
Yeah, like
There's
I'm
a bunch
gonna
of bootlegs on YouTube, but
try to watch because I actually never watched the full episode. I was getting around to it.
because that's
but-
where the speculation came from. You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, that's
'Cause, like,
suspicious.
right. So, like, what do you think? Why did she?
That's what I was gonna say. Do you think like Drake's team ended up saying like they had to be taken down? I don't think there's anything
Doesn't
too
look good for
controversial
you.
in it.
No, I don't. I didn't watch it.
People
I seen
liked
clips.
Drake on it because
Yeah,
he was
no,
just
they
like
were fine.
chilling,
I don't think anything
talking.
crazy really happened.
No, they were just
So
talking
it
like
is
normal
It
people.
is weird that
Yeah.
it was taken down and that they unfollowed each other.
That is a weird one.
Why? I don't know. I don't know.
You checked?
Go ahead.
I just didn't know if you did.
I didn't personally, but it was like a big
'Cause
story.
I am curious. Like, did he actually unfollow her? Or is this all just a scam?
If it's all a scam, I've been scammed.
Let's see. She's followed by Addison Rae, World Star Hip Hop, Scooter Braun, Casey Neistat, Caleb Presley, Mr. Beast.
Just type CH.
I was just scrolling through the. Drake doesn't follow her.
No.
That is interesting.
And she doesn't follow Drake.
And
Before the podcast, they followed each other.
doesn't Drake follow like 18 million people or
Yeah,
something?
it's like 5,000 people or something.
So that is interesting.
It is interesting.
I feel like Dave Portnoy probably just fucked it all up. Like he just started a bunch of rumors about her and Drake. So Drake's like, take that shit down.
Well, the thing is, like I said, he didn't start the rumors. He's just parroting the shit on his fucking podcast. But
But when he says something, it gets big.
yeah, and especially when you had her on your show.
Right.
You know what I'm
Makes
saying?
it seem like he knows
then
something.
You say, "Oh, I have a comment from her," and then bleep it out like it was something fucking
Yeah.
what's the word I'm looking for? Ominous. You know what I'm saying? Like something went wrong.
And the only part he believed was her saying, "Yeah, that's
No.
not true.
Yeah.
Didn't happen."
Like, why would you even bleep that part?
But
That's like,
how many people do you think watched that Dave Portnoy clip? He bleeped out that word, and then they're like, "Oh shit, I gotta find out." Go and watch the full episode of their podcast. Like that's why he
Right.
did it.
I-
Maybe we should start
It
doing
might even
that.
be bleeped in the full podcast.
I hope
I'm
not.
assuming it is.
That's scummy though.
It's just so weird.
We
It's
should
like a
do
random
that.
ass thing to do.
Yo, I got a DM from Lil Yachty, and he said,
Yeah.
and then people like, that's
what?
basically what happened. He just baited a bunch of people into watch. Have you ever watched the Dave Portnoy, Josh
No.
Richards podcast? It's called
Absolutely not.
BFFs. It's literally.
It's a
This-
50-year-old man with a fucking show called BFFs. You think
Yeah,
I'm
do you-
watching that shit?
Do you know what it's about?
No.
All they talk about is TikTok relationship drama. That's the premise of the show. They literally talk about like 18 and 19-year-old couples and relationships. Like that's the show.
I can't.
He says that in the Bobbi
Look.
Althoff episode. He's like, yeah, we usually just come on here and talk about like TikTok drama.
I realize I'm a hater a lot of the times.
You are a hater.
Sometimes I'm a hater.
Yeah,
I try to reserve myself from hating.
you are a hater though. Certified
Sometimes.
hater.
Sometimes I am.
There's no sometimes.
No, sometimes. I'm trying to better myself. I don't want to be a hater. You know what I'm saying? But
Do you hate Bobbi Althoff?
no, but fucking Dave Portnoy,
Yeah.
like, bro, You're like fucking 50.
And he's a billionaire, basically.
It's like, go start a family. Like,
I
go
don't-
do something else.
It is crazy that he, of all people, he picked Josh Richards, and they just talk about TikTok drama.
I think the Nelk
Such a
boys are
crazy
too old
thing.
to be doing like the frat house style of fucking
I mean,
content.
yeah, they're like 30.
And this dude's like doing the same shit as like 50, bro. Like, come on now.
Their podcast, though, BFFs, if you ever happen to watch it, it's like,
It's dog shit.
it's
I'm
worse
sure.
than this show, I promise you that. Because, like,
Come on
even
now.
when Bobbi Althoff was, that's the only reason I don't normally watch. I just saw she was on. I was like, oh, I'll watch this because
Yeah.
I want to know how she got Drake on her podcast.
Right, right.
And, like, Dave Portnoy was such an awkward guest. Like, he didn't know anything about her. He had, like, a stack of papers with notes, and he's just reading
Yo,
questions off paper.
And that's what's. Did you see the Andrew Schultz fucking Nelk Boys thing?
Yeah.
Dude. So that's like the same shit.
Yeah.
So Andrew Schultz went on the Nelk Boys podcast.
Yeah.
And fucking, they were completely unprepared. And the whole time, fucking Steiny is
Mhm.
leading the interview, asking him a bunch of random bullshit.
Yeah.
And fucking, like, there's a bunch of just awkward, like, silence and shit. And essentially, the fuck is his name? I just said it.
Kyle?
No.
Andrew Schultz?
Andrew Schultz was, like, essentially hosting his own podcast.
Yeah.
Like, he was leading the podcast. And during the podcast, he's like, this is so weird. Are you guys, like, actually friends? Like, what's going on here? Like, you didn't even prepare at all for me. You're just reading notes off your phone, like you said, off the piece of paper.
Yeah.
So weird. If you're going to have somebody at the level of Bobbi Althoff or Andrew Schultz on your show,
Yeah.
come prepared, man.
Yeah.
Like, we had one interview on this show. We were prepared.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great interview.
Bobbi
Like, we-
Althoff was on Good Morning America the day before. She's,
This-
like, popping.
this-
You have to...
And it's a
Show
bullshit
some
interview.
respect,
It was a
dude.
bullshit interview.
I feel like, yeah, they just showed
I
no
didn't watch
respect
it,
to her.
but-
It's, I mean, it's whatever. You learn about how she blew up, but, like, it's such a weird
Yeah.
podcast.
And you could tell she has some distaste for it now because she's like, I didn't even want to go on this bullshit podcast
She
in the
said
first
that.
place.
She said that on the podcast. She was like, I didn't want to really come on here because you're, like, mean and a dick. Like, she says that to him. And then
crazy.
she comes on, does a podcast, does them a favor,
Yeah,
and then he's a dick.
doesn't even prepare.
Yeah. And he was a dick after by stirring up rumors that she slept
Yeah.
with Drake. That's
Just
just such
furthered
a
it on.
far-fetched thing.
It's crazy.
It's Off the Top podcast, got you laughing like you hit the gas pack. Show is crazy like you watching Mad Max. Every other podcast is mad whack. Off the Top